So I actually went to one of the biggest high schools in New Jersey, and I had opportunities to take advanced placement courses. And that just really got my brain ticking. Like, man, these are some really cool concepts. I want to learn more about this. I want to take as many of these challenging courses as I can. And so when I was applying to colleges, my dad actually encouraged me to go to somewhere that I could definitely study medicine. But ironically enough, I was more interested in engineering because of all the science and math that I had taken in high school. And so we agreed that he would let me go to an engineering school. So I went to Cooper Union in New York for engineering, chemical engineering specifically. Spent 4 years there. And what I noticed was I really did love the technical aspects of all that science that I was doing. But when I was volunteering in hospitals, there was also this human component that I was missing from the engineering part of it. Plus, there was a lot of delayed gratification in engineering. So, for example, if you had to design something, or if you had to, go through tons of iterations of different processes, that would take months or years, or even decades in some cases. Whereas with the emergency room physicians, for example, that I was following, they would see results within minutes of doing some intervention in the hospital. And I found that instant gratification more rewarding for me, along with the human aspect. And so for me, it was more a kind of a step-by-step process where I learned, okay, I want to incorporate science, but I also want to incorporate the human interaction too. And so after college, I applied to medical school. And maybe your listeners will be interested in this. It was really hard for me to get in. I actually failed the first 2 times. No interview, no acceptance offers at all for the first 2 years. For the second year, I actually got 1 offer, but that was at a foreign Caribbean medical school. And so I knew that if I was going to go to that school, I would have a harder time getting a job in America. And so I had to make a decision. Do I go to that school or do I apply one more time? So luckily for me, my sister, who is also a doctor, actually recommended that I look into something different, but similar. It's called osteopathic medicine rather than kind of traditional allopathic medicine. And I had no idea what that was. I was kind of clueless until I started to realize that through my research, there are 2 ways to become a physician in America. One is you go to an allopathic school to get your MD, and the second is to go to an osteopathic school to get your DO. And the cool thing about it is that they are incredibly similar in a lot of ways. 99% of the curriculum is exactly the same. There is 1 course in osteopathic medicine, which is using my hands to diagnose and treat, like I talked about earlier, that is about 200 hours within medical school of additional training that DOs get that are not part of the MD curriculum. And so I got into a DO school. I learned about osteopathic medicine. I actually had it done on me. So a doctor actually used his hands to find out why I was having back pain and took me from a 9 out of 10 pain level down to a 0 out of 10, which I'm currently still experiencing.
Nice.
And so that's really like the personal experience of having my own pain reduced got me specifically into the osteopathic medicine component of medicine.
Gotcha. So I had some follow-up questions on that. Since you were at a 9 pain level and you're at a 0 pain level now, do you still require treatment to maintain that? Or like, so you went through the treatment and you are still relieved of your pain today?
You got it.
Gotcha.
Yep. The doctor was skilled enough to find the sources of my pain. And within 30 seconds, all he had to do was push on my hips and say, the reason for your pain is actually because you have a short right leg. And so what he did was he treated the anatomy by evening out the legs with a heel lift. And then he did manipulations to make sure that all the muscles were also working properly. And between those 2 things, the anatomy and the physiology, my pain completely resolved.
So he lined you up, and that was the trigger that let the pain go.
Yeah, more than just that. He also he got to the root of the issue. He figured out that, hey, there's a structural problem here. Let me give you a structural treatment. Yeah. And there you go. It was the right solution for me.
Gotcha. Right on. Well, it's very, very interesting. Kind of what I went through yesterday. I feel like that I can see the long-term benefits of of that, and it's very interesting. So like a lot of people are just like, they don't know about this stuff. They don't know, like,
Exactly.
and they have misconceptions of what this might mean and how they might come in and, like, get they might get hurt or something, or like they see all these things online about people like cracking their neck and stuff like that, and it's just like they're afraid of this type of thing. So like, just talk about some misconceptions and some myths about like kind of what it is that you do. Let's educate the public on what the benefit would be and what to not be afraid of on this type of thing.
Okay. So I am a physician, meaning I've got medical training enough to actually diagnose a condition from the ground up. And I can work on multiple types of tissues. So I'm not just going to say, oh, you've got low back pain. I'm going to say that your low back pain is specifically because of these muscles and this disc and these joints. And so it's usually not just one or the other problem. Someone usually has 2 or 3 or even 4 contributing factors to their low back pain. And so as a physician, my skill set is in that diagnosis and really saying, okay, what are all the contributing factors? Then with the hands-on treatments that I do, it's different than any other profession. So there are other body workers, and I very much adore them. I think that there's a huge role for massage therapists and physical therapists and chiropractors. And what those folks do is they work on the body in very specific ways. So a massage therapist will work on muscles and some soft tissues. They'll do some kind of rolling types of techniques. A physical therapist may do some more push and pull if they're hands-on kind of physical therapist, or they may prescribe exercises or give you exercises to do. And the chiropractor works on joints, some of the neck cracking that you're talking about. So the way that I describe osteopathic medicine is that it's kind of the umbrella of some of these other disciplines. An osteopathic physician is someone who has hands-on training to work on the muscles and soft tissue like a massage therapist, the joints like a physical therapist, and the bones like a chiropractor. And yet I still have my own skill set beyond any of those. I would say 80% of my skills are actually unique to osteopathic medicine.
Gotcha. So it sounds like you encompass a little bit of all the art, of all those little specific things, and that you have a deep understanding of it all, pretty much.
That's what my goal is, to keep understanding more and more. I don't understand 100% of the human body. I don't think anyone does or will, but I'm trying to get as close as I can.
Gotcha. Because there was moments in my treatment that we heard a bone pop or two, but we weren't, I don't know if you were going after that, but if, there were moments that joints were popping and things were happening to me, and it felt like that was helping the situation, more range of motion, especially down in like my feet. When we were working on my feet, you were moving it in a way that, when that joint popped, it felt like I had a little bit more motion there when that happened. So
yeah, exactly. And that joint popping is just part of the treatment. It's a continuous process. It's not like, oh, okay, once I get the pop, then I'm done. It's okay, I need to get the joint working. You hear that little pop. It's painless. It shouldn't be shocking. It shouldn't be surprising. It shouldn't be painful. And it should be, kind of flowing with the rest of the treatment, which is working on the muscles, the soft tissue, the connective tissue, the ligaments, and everything else.
Right.
So I think that, you had mentioned before, fears that people have. People are definitely, there are some folks that are afraid of getting things popped and cracked and moved, and that's okay. And I have several other types of techniques that I can do without worrying about any of that.
Yeah. Gotcha.
And so you said, even if it does happen, then you realize that, oh, okay, yeah, I got a pop and I actually got more range of motion. Maybe this is a good thing. This is what my body needed.
Right. Gotcha. So let's talk about like your main clientele and like your target people. I mean, it feels like there's a little bit of array of everybody that might benefit from these services. When you get into adulthood and you're either an athlete or you've got an injury, it seems like a lot of people could benefit from this type of treatment. But who are you actually seeing the most of? Like how do people come to know of you, and like how are you getting the majority of your business?
Sure. The majority of the people I see are office workers, especially now during the pandemic when people are sitting a whole bunch at their desk. What happens is people are hunched forward, they're typing a whole lot, they're using the mouse, and they're using their phone, and that contributes to neck pain, headaches, and upper back pain. The other problem with sitting a whole bunch is that it flexes the hips a lot too. And so when someone is sitting, it's very different than when they're standing up straight. And so if you're in any one position for a prolonged period of time, then you're going to have a bunch of pain. And that leads to, for example, chronic low back pain or
Gotcha.
leg pain or foot pain. And so the majority of my folks are regular everyday people. They have got a ton of different jobs. But one thing they share in common is that they are sitting for a good amount of time. And then the difficulties, the actual pains that they have can be anywhere in their body. But I can help to identify exactly what components are the most problematic for them right at that moment.